Hello everyone. Today in this video we are going to study about the basics of hypothesis testing, which is useful in inferential statistics. Some basics we are going to study about this hypothesis testing. What is it, when to use it? Okay, we'll quickly move on to the video. Okay, so now before that we should understand what are the types of statistics we have. Okay, so broadly we are classifying into two types according to our need. First one is called the descriptive statistics. What is this descriptive statistics? It describes, okay? It describes about the population or the sample or whatever it may be. Okay, suppose if I say the average is 25 out of 30 of for some particular students, then we can say these people are good students with a studying habit. Okay, just like that, it is going to describe. So 20% of the class is male and 20% of this class is female. Suppose when we wanted to have it, we will be doing the same descriptive statistics here. Okay, so now what are the types we are going to study in this descriptive statistics is measures of central tendency. Here we will be studying mean, median, mode, etc. It will describe about the it will give some description about the population or the sample. So next one, frequencies and percentages. So that will also give you something about the population and sample. So we'll call it as descriptive statistics. And measures of variation is also your descriptive statistics. Now, the important point here we are going to study is about the inferential statistics. What is inferential? What is an inference? It is nothing but the statement. Okay, so we are going to say something about the population. Suppose there is a population. I'm taking a sample in this. I will analyze the sample. Okay, I will analyze the sample. Then I am going to tell something about this population. Okay, so by analyzing the sample, I will predict the population, how it is, or I will describe the population. That is called the inferential statistics here. See, what are all the things we are going to study in inferential statistics is the parametric test. What is this parametric test this is about? Okay, what is this parametric? So we know something about the distribution, whether it is normal distribution or not. Okay, so now if you do not know what is normal, we have done a video already. You can go just see that and come back. So whenever there is a data which follows a normal distribution, they'll use a parametric test. And whenever there is a quantitative variable, okay, quantitative variable is nothing but the variable which can be counted. Okay, it can be measured. Okay, those things are called parametric test. Now, straight opposite to that is the non-parametric test. We do not know anything about the distribution. So it is distribution-free tests. Okay, now parametric test and non-parametric test we are going to study separately. Now, the option for us to study is the hypothesis testing. So now we are going to study what is called this hypothesis testing, where to use and when to use this. Okay, so what are all the terminologies we are going to use it in hypothesis testing? Okay, so now we'll quickly move on to these. What is this inferential statistics? First, we should understand what is the inferential statistics. As I told you, see, I am having a population. From the population, I am having a sample. Okay, population will be college students, for example, and sample will be first B Pharm, etc. So I can have it. This is the sample. By analyzing this sample, I can say something about the population. That is called the inference. Okay, so that's called the inferential statistics here. Now, in the inferential statistics, we are going to study about the parametric test. What is the parametric test? See, makes assumption about the parameters. So you should understand what is called a parameter. In the next slide, I'm going to show what is called a parameter and what is called a statistics also. Okay, right, statistic, we have to call it a statistic. Okay, makes assumption about the parameters of the population, tell something about the population from which the sample is drawn, analyze the sample and tell something about the population. That's called the parametric test. Now, what is this non-parametric test? Okay, now it does not assume anything about the distribution, so it is called the distribution free tests, okay, used for non-normal variables. What is this non-normal variables? Here we can have a qualitative variable. When we have a qualitative variable, I can use non-parametrics. When I have a quantitative variable, okay, quantitative variable, I'll use the parametric test. Whenever I have qualitative variable, I will use non-parametric test. Now, what is this? The hypothesis testing is nothing but it is testing an assumption. Okay, now I am assuming something. Okay, now the earth, okay, is flat. People assumed like this in the beginning. Okay, now this is an assumption. So I am going to test this assumption based on the population. Okay, I'm going to test this. Now, drug A. So if you come to pharmacy, now I'll tell drug A and drug B. Two things are there. Drug A is better in curing headache, for example. This is the assumption I'm making. So I have to prove it. So when I want to prove it, I want to have evidence for that. Okay, to prove drug A is better, I need evidence. That evidence is called the p-value. So p-value is nothing but the evidence to prove my hypothesis. Just alone, this alone, you just in the beginning class, this alone you remember exact what is the p-value we are going to study in the next slide. Okay, so now what is the next one here? This is the population I'm having. Okay, population of people, right? This is first B form, or we can have some pharmacy thing. Okay, now first pharmacy, second pharmacy, third pharmacy. Group or whatever it is, right? This is the population. From here, I am taking a sample here. Now, from this population, I'm going to describe this. Okay, so now population and sample. This is a population. This is a sample. I'm going to describe this. So how to describe? A summary description. I want to find out a summary description for population. I want to find out the summary description of the sample or a measure I'm going to calculate from this. So using that measure, I can tell something about the population, just like a mean. So suppose if I know mean of this population and mean of this sample, I can say something about this. Okay, now this summary description of the population is called the parameter. Okay, now summary description or a measure. See, what is a measure here? Summary description or a measure of the sample is called the statistic. You have to remember. See, whenever I say statistic, it is from the sample. Whenever I say parameter, it should be from the population. Parameter does not imply for the sample. This is what is the very, very important thing. Okay, this is a statistic. Somebody says, then I am dealing with the sample. Somebody says it is a parameter, then I am dealing with the population. We'll go on an example, common example I'm going to show it. Okay, now mean. So when mean is taken from the population, then it is called the parameter, then it is denoted by mu here. The same mean is taken from the sample, then it is called X bar, then it is called the statistics. Here also we are calculating the mean in the population. Here also we are calculating the mean for the sample, but when it is denoted by mu, it is a parameter. When the mean is denoted by X bar, it is the statistic. Okay, now X bar means when I say X bar for mean, then I should take into consideration this is coming from a sample. When I say mean mu, then I should take it from the population. Okay, similarly, standard deviation sigma is a parameter, standard deviation S is a sample. When I say sigma, then it is sigma is a parameter and S is the statistic. So a statistic means sample, parameter means population. This is what is the thing you have to remember first. Then we'll move on to the next one. What is it actually? Now, people will always have a confusion with the standard deviation and standard error. Sometimes this is called standard error, okay, of mean. Okay, now what is the difference between these two? That's why I give verses. Okay, so now first we see what is standard deviation. It is used to measure the spread within a single sample. See, for example, I'm having a population here. From here, I'm having a sample. This is a sample. Okay, now this is a sample. So got it from the population, right? So now used to measure the spread within a single sample. So my values are here like this. How much is the spread? How the values are spread? It is being calculated by the standard deviation. Standard deviation, we have done a separate video previously. Just go through this and you can come back so that you will understand the standard deviation. Now, what is the standard error? Then used to measure the spread of means in the population. It's very, very important. So now I am concerning with the population. Here, I'll be having a sample 1. Okay. For this sample 1, I'll be having a mean. for this, I'm having a sample 2 here. That is also nothing, right? It's a group. Okay, instead of sample, I can call it as a group. Now it is having a mean. It is having a mean. Now how these means are spreaded. Okay, now how the mean, what is the difference between the means? Okay, so now single number within a sample, then it is standard deviation. Now the means, I am finding the spread of means in the population, it is standard error. So whenever I say standard error, it says population. Whenever I say standard deviation, it is sample, and most of the time standard deviation is also used for population also. Okay, now standard error and standard mean, this is the difference you are having. So what is the next difference? Shows how far is the individual values are from the sample mean. See, for example, 25 is my average. One student got 2 here. So this is the difference. I want to find out the difference of the each and individual thing. Okay, now here, it estimates how varied the actual population mean. So this is the population mean, this is the sample mean. How much is the variation between these two? That also will be measured by standard error. Okay, this is the second point, you have to note it down. So then, see, it is a sample statistic. Okay, now standard deviation is a sample statistic. Okay, now the standard error is the population parameter because it is coming from the population. If we call it as population parameter, these two things you have to remember. Okay, so now we'll move on to the next one. What is it? Now, what is the hypothesis testing? What is this about? What is this testing is called? Okay, so now we are going for this first definition here, not a definition. Okay, we can have it as a hint actually. It is nothing but a formal procedure. It is a procedure. It is a formal procedure for investigating our ideas about the world using statistics. Some ideas is there, I'm going to display. So it is a formal procedure for investigating our ideas about the world using the statistics. That's called hypothesis testing. See, more easy, I'm going to give it. It is nothing but test specific predictions. Okay, it is going to test specific predictions. Okay, now it is often used by scientists to test specific predictions called hypotheses. Okay, that arise from theories. Okay, now it is a formal procedure for investigating our ideas about the world using statistics is the first point you have to remember. Then it is often used by scientists to test specific predictions called hypotheses that arise from theories. Okay, so what's the, I can give an example here. See, running an experiment and find that a certain drug is effective in treating headache. See, for example, I'm having 2 types of drug. Okay, drug A and drug B I'm having. So I'm using, see, I am going to tell A is a better drug than B. So I cannot say this. No, this is called a statement. This statement, I am going to prove it. Okay, so now to prove it, I am going to run an experiment. Okay, so I want an evidence, that's all. Okay, so I want an evidence, so that evidence is got by the hypothesis testing. Okay, so now that running of experiment to test this is called the hypothesis testing. Okay, so now what are all the things we are going to study here? Whenever there is a hypothesis, it is a specific statement of prediction. I predict something. Okay, now Earth is flat. That is a prediction. So it is an assumption. I'll assume something that is yet to be proved. I have to prove it. Okay, it is not flat. The Earth is round. I have to prove it. So sufficient piece of information I want, that's called, I call it as an evidence. Instead of sufficient piece of information, I'll call it as evidence. So in order to prove my assumption, I need sufficient piece of information, that is the evidence to prove it. Okay, now, so whenever there is a hypothesis, there are 2 types of hypothesis we will be dealing with. One is called null hypothesis. It is denoted by H suffix 0 or H naught. Okay, now I'll call it as H naught. This one I'll call it as H naught. Okay, now what is this actually? Now, it is nothing but commonly accepted fact, null hypothesis. It always says no. Is there a difference between A and B? Then null hypothesis say no, there is no difference. Is there a difference between pen and pencil? Then I have to say no, there is no difference. In the difference between pen and pencil, then I will disprove it. Okay, so now that is what is the null hypothesis is about. Okay, so it is nothing but a commonly accepted fact Okay, now alternative hypothesis, whatever I am writing here, that is opposite, it will come. Okay, there is no difference between A and B. Drug A and drug B, there is no difference. Then this alternative hypothesis says there is a difference. Okay, so now it is denoted by H1 or it is denoted by HA. Okay, so now H naught, say I'm giving an example here. Okay, now see, pharmacy field example, you can take it yourself, right? H naught, the world is flat. Okay, it is accepted fact only. See, previously people accepted this fact. Okay, now the world is flat. Now what I do, contrary to the fact, I'll say the world is round. So now the researcher, see, suppose I'm a researcher, I'll do the experiment, I will disprove it. Okay, so I will disprove it. So then disprove it, why we should call it as null here? Disproving means I am going to nullify this statement. Okay, now I'm going to nullify this statement, I'm going to omit this statement by having an evidence. That is why it is called the null hypothesis. Okay, now the researcher's work is to nullify this particular H naught. Okay, now always whenever you do a research, you will frame the null hypothesis first and you are going to nullify it by getting the p-value. Okay, so that is why it is called the null hypothesis here. So null hypothesis always says no. Okay, you have to remember that particular thing. Okay, right. Now the researcher work is to accept this alternate hypothesis. Okay, so now it is not in all the cases we'll accept it. Okay, now we will reject the null hypothesis, then it is not necessary to accept the alternate hypothesis. Okay, so it is not mandatory actually. So you have to remember this. So null hypothesis is a commonly accepted fact. Okay, now the researcher is always working on to nullify this hypothesis to get the proper conclusion. Okay, so now we'll move on to the next one. What is it now? See, whenever the researcher is doing the research here, he may experience two types of error here. Okay, this is what is very important here. So we are going to have, see, no statistical test is 100% certain. Okay, sometimes we make mistakes here. Okay, now that mistakes we'll call it as errors. Okay, now why this error will come? Because we always rely on probabilities to get the correct answer, so correct conclusion, correct inference. So we will be having the two types of errors here. First type of error is called the type 1 error, and the second type is called the type 2 error. Okay, so now what is this type 1 error? Okay, now my H naught is true, but people will reject it. Otherwise, I will reject it. Then it is called type 1 error. Okay, now rejecting H naught when it is true is called type 1 error. It is also called as false positive. Okay, it is false positive. So now I will give an example. A good medicine out of the market. Okay, now good medicine means suppose they have done all the work, so it should come. Okay, now it is a truth. Okay, it's truth. Good medicine is a truth, but it is out of market means it is neglected. Okay, that is what is that. Okay, H naught is the good medicine is H naught, but it is rejecting, so it is out of the market. Okay, now H naught is truth, it is rejected, so it is called the type 1 error. Type 1 error is false positive. Okay, now innocent is punished. So you can remember this also. You can remember false positive, or you can remember a good medicine out of market. Otherwise, my own example I will give you. Truth is neglected. When truth is neglected, I will call it as the type 1 error. Now, straight opposite to that, the next one is suppose this type 1 error is always denoted by an alpha here. This alpha, what we can write, it is a measure. Alpha will be, so you might have seen in statistics book, 0.05. Alpha is equal to 0.01. Anyway, we are going to study what's called alpha. For time being, you remember, alpha is nothing but probability of making type 1 error. Probability of making type 1 error is 5% sometimes. So I may make my this type 1 error 5%. Okay, if I give 5%, that is alpha. So you have to remember first. So rejecting H naught when it is true is called type 1 error. It is also called as false positive. When I want to give an example, I can give an example, a good medicine out of the market. Now, it is denoted by alpha. What is that alpha? Alpha is the probability of making a type 1 error. Okay, now type 1 error, the type 1 error, see that probability, particular probability, I will call it as alpha. Alpha is the probability of making a type 1 error. This alpha is also called as significance level. Okay, so it's very, very important. You have to remember, it is also called as significance level. Okay, now we'll come for the type 2 error here. Okay, now accepting H naught when it is false. Okay, now truth is neglected, I told you. Now, false is accepted here. Okay, that's what is this. Accepting the alternate hypothesis when it is false, it is also an error. Okay, so now what is it actually? False negative. It is also called as false negative. I can give an example. A false medicine, it is false only, but we are accepting it and bringing it into the market. So it is the type 1 error. The researcher has made a type 2 error. Now, it is called beta. Beta is nothing but probability of making type 2 error. Okay, now keep it in mind, type 2 error is not denoted by beta. Okay, it is nothing but the probability of making a type 2 error is denoted by beta. Here, type 1 error is not denoted by alpha, but the probability of making type 1 error is called alpha. Now, alpha is called a significance level. Beta is called the probability of making type 2 error. Okay, we are not giving any name for this. Okay, these alpha, beta, you have to remember. Based on this, we'll do a sum. Okay, previously we have done a t-test. T-test also, this hypothesis testing. So once you read this hypothesis testing and go to t-test, it will be easy for you. Now, points to be noted on types of errors. See, I'm going to show it here, right? So whatever we have studied in the previous slide, I'm going to show it here. Okay, this is the real world scenario. So in real world, H naught is true. If my H naught is true and I will accept it, obviously I have to accept it, then it is a correct decision for me. Okay, now in the real world, H naught is true. I am accepting it. So I have made a correct decision. Okay, this is what you have to remember. Okay, in the real world, H naught is true. So I am accepting it. So therefore, it is a correct decision. So I made it, right? So now, in real world, H naught is true, but I am rejecting it. That's what is I told you. Truth is neglected. Truth is rejected. Okay. H naught is true. It is rejected. Then the researcher is making a type 1 error. The researcher is making a type 1 error here. Okay. Now, alpha is equal to probability of type 1 error. This also we can remember. Okay. So once again, I'm telling you, H naught is true, but it is neglected. So it is type 1 error. Okay. Now, similarly, if you remember the other one, H naught is false. I will accept it. Then it is a mistake. Okay. What is the mistake? So it is nothing but the type 2 error. So 2 should come here. Okay. Type 2 error. Type 2 error. Okay. So now H naught is false. I am rejecting it. False is rejected. So it is a correct decision. I have done a correct decision. So if you remember this, it is easy for you to write what is called the types of error. I'm going to tell you once again. So H naught is true. I am accepting it. Correct decision. H naught is true. I am rejecting it. So type 1 error. H naught is false. I am accepting it. So that is also an error. So it is type 2 error. Okay. Now, H naught is false. I am rejecting it. So I made a correct decision. This is what you have to remember. So what are all the terminologies we have to remember here? So we should know what is called a significance level, what is called a confidence level. Okay. Now, significance level is alpha. I told you it's probability with which we'll reject the null hypothesis when it is true. Okay. Now, confidence level is 1 minus alpha. Suppose alpha is equal to 0.05. If I say my confidence level, so this will come around 5% level of significance. Then this is 95% of confidence level. Okay. Now, this is 5% level of significance, then I will have to subtract from 1 minus alpha. So 1 minus 0.05, whatever coming, I am converting into percentage here. Okay, this is what is the confidence level. These 2 points you have to remember here. Okay, so now what is the next one? See, we are going to have an example here. So I am setting an alpha 0.05. So significance level, I am setting it as 0.05. Usually alpha will be 0.05, it may come. alpha may come 0.1, alpha may come 0.01 also. Okay, now this is the basic thing we are having it. Okay, now I want to compare mean of a population, then I'll call it as mu. Okay, mu is the mean of the population. So given value is 3. So I have to check. I am having a sample there, x is equal to 3. I have to find out the population mu is equal to this particular value or not. So when I want to set the hypothesis, then there is no difference between the population mean and the given number I have to take. So that is why I am taking the null hypothesis like this. H naught is equal to mu is equal to 0. Now, what will be my alternative hypothesis here? It may be mu less than 3, choice 1. It may be mu greater than 3, choice 2. It may not be equal to 3. Okay, so it may be less than or greater than also. Okay, mu is not equal to 3. This is choice number 3. Based on these choices, we'll be having tests. Those tests are called one-tailed test, two-tailed test, etc. So I'm going to show it what is called one-tailed test, what is called two-tailed test, etc. Okay, now listen here. Now one-tailed test. So for this particular sum, I'm going to consider one-tailed test. How I'll consider now? If I want to read out for the one-tailed test, my alpha will be 0.05 because 0.05 is given to you. Okay. Now any one side, HA mu greater than 3 or HA mu less than 3, I want to do it. So now see when I want to find out mu greater than 3, so I will calculate the value for this. Okay, using a t-test, for example, I am going to calculate the critical value. Okay, that critical value is here given. Okay, 1.76131. So whatever the value comes more than that, I will reject it. Whatever the value come less than that, I'm going to accept it. Okay, now this is the acceptance region. This is marked in red is the rejection region. Okay, this is called one-tailed test. This is called right-tailed test. Okay, when I want to compare mu greater than 3, greater than means right side, I'm going to find it out. Therefore, it is called the right-tailed test. Okay, so only one side I'm doing it. So it is called one-tailed test. So I'm going to show the left side. Now, mu less than 3, this is the value calculated minus 1.76. Less than that value, I am going to remove it from here. Okay, now whatever the value comes within this region, I'm going to omit it. That is why it's called the one-tailed test. Okay, now if it is greater than 3 right side, less than 3 it is in the left side I'm calculating. So it is called one-tailed test. Okay, now what happens if this alpha is equal to 0.05? I want to do it for two sides. So alpha is divided by 2. Alpha will be divided by 2. 0.05 is divided by 2, which gives you 0.025. Now this will be taken for two-tailed test because it will be splitting into two types. Here only one, note on the value here 0.05. Here also it is 0.05. When two-tailed test, this alpha value should be divided by 2 and it should be taken. So when we move on to two-tailed test here, two-tailed test, I want to compare mu not equal to 3, then it may be less than 3 or it may be more than 3. It may be less than 3 or it may be more than 3. Both the thing I want to check it here. Therefore, it is called two-tailed test. Okay, so now only one. Okay, so my BP level is increased, then it is one-tailed test. Is my BP level decreased? It is one-tailed test. Is my BP level changed? Increase also will take into consideration, decreasing also will take into consideration. Therefore, it is called the two-tailed test. So whatever the value I'm getting for alpha, I am dividing it by 2. So it is 0.05. I am going to allot it on both sides. I will find it out. Okay, now it is 0.025. This is the area and 0. This is visually we are showing how to reject the null hypothesis by testing the values. Okay, so now this is what we will be doing when we are doing some sums. We will be doing this whether it is a one-tailed test or two-tailed test. Keep it in mind, whenever it is a one-tailed test, 0.05 should be found out from the table. When it is two-tailed test, then 0.025, under 0.05 only the value should be selected. That is what is the important thing you have to remember. So before we do the sum, we should find out whether we are doing a one-tailed test or two-tailed test. Okay, we'll quickly move on to the next one. What is it? See, what are the steps in hypothesis testing? First, state the null hypothesis. Okay, there is no difference, we usually say. Then state the alternative hypothesis. We can keep it as the first step. So I have given it as a 7-step. You can take it as 4 steps also. So then collect the data. I'm going to collect the data. Then I am setting the value of alpha. Who will set the alpha value? I am going to set, say, I am 5% having a doubt whether I will make a mistake. So alpha will be 0.05. No, I am very confident. So I'll write alpha is equal to 0.01. So I'll write only 1% mistake will be made by me. So if I think, I'll make it as 1%. Okay, so alpha will be set by the researcher. So whenever you want to have it, when nothing is given, you always take alpha is equal to 0.05. That's the point you have to remember here. Okay, so now construct acceptance and rejection regions. That's what I have shown here. Okay, now which is the rejection here? Which is the acceptance region. I'm going to set it. Then I'm going to calculate the test statistics here. What are the tests I'm going to do? Whether I'm using a F test, whether I'm doing a T test, whether I'm using a chi-square test, whether I'm doing a ANOVA test, that I have to decide. Okay, based on the data, I'm going to decide it, then calculate it. Okay, now when I calculate the value, when I do it for T test, it's called T calculated. When I do it for F, then it is called F calculated. When I'll do it for chi-square, it's called chi-square calculated. That's what I have to do. Then I'm going to draw the conclusion about the H0. Okay, we'll quickly move on to what are these steps here. The null hypothesis H0 always states that the treatment has no effect. Okay, we always have to say there is no effect. See, for example, I want to compare 2 drugs. Okay, now drug A and drug B. Then the null hypothesis, there is no significance difference between the 2 drugs in treating the specific disease. Okay, now otherwise I'll say H0 mu1 equal to mu2. Now the means are same. Okay, most probably the means are same for the samples. I'm going to tell it. Okay, now this is how we'll state the null hypothesis. Once null hypothesis is stated, the straight opposite is done for the alternate hypothesis. I can have it as H1 also here. So the null hypothesis HA, sometimes denoted as H1, is the opposite of null hypothesis, having the other alternative options. See, what are the other options? When we want to compare 2 drugs, drug A, drug B, the alternative hypothesis would be there is a significance. H0 is there is no significance. So HA will be there is a significance difference between the 2 drugs in treating the specific disease. Maybe a headache, we can have it. Okay, otherwise the 2 drugs are different in treating the disease. Previously, it is the 2 drugs are same. Now, third point, see, state the value of alpha. Alpha is usually taken as 0.05. Okay, now, which establishes 95% confidence level. So how we are getting the 95% confidence? See, alpha is equal to 0.05 means it is 5%. So I am subtracting from 100, the 5%. Okay, now I'll get 95%. So I may make a 5% mistake, but I am 95% confidence. Okay, simply you can remember like this, not exact, simply you can remember like this. Okay, so now the usual value will be 0.1, 0.05, 0.01. We mostly will be using these 2. Okay, now we are not so confident, then 90% level of significance. Okay, 90% confidence level only will be getting. Okay, so now the alpha level establishes a criterion. What is this alpha? It is nothing but a cutoff value. Okay, I'm going to compare this alpha value to a p value. Okay, to do a decision. That's alone you remember. Okay, now alpha and p value will be compared. Okay, when we do a software, that's alone you remember. Now it's nothing but a cutoff value for making decision. Okay, now I want to make a decision, so I want to need a cutoff value. That cutoff value is nothing but alpha. Okay, right. Now it also determines the risk of type 1 error. See how much the type 1 error I'm making. So significance level I told you, right? So then we'll move on to the data collection. The data will be collected. Okay, ensure the type of the data collected is from normal distribution or not. We have to find out whether the data is normal distribution or not. If it is normal, I'll use parametric test. If it is not normal, I'll use non-parametric test. That's what you have to remember here. Okay, now check whether we have to use parametric or non-parametric test based on this. Okay, then select the appropriate test for getting the relevant answer. Okay, t-test, f-test, ANOVA. So those are having some conditions. Whether my data, okay, comes under that conditions, then I will use a relevant statistical test. So once the test is done, keep the calculated value for comparison. See, when I do a t-test, I'll call it as t-cal. Okay, then I'm going to compare it with t-tab, or I'll call it as t-critical value, t-critical, or I'll call it as t-alpha. Okay, t-alpha, t-tab, or t-critical, all are same. These are all from the table. Okay, it is a predetermined value, pre-calculated value. I'm going to compare my calculated value with this. That's what you have to remember. So calculate the test statistics using the correct tests here. Okay, identify the correct test statistics. Then once calculated value, I will call it as test cal. I'm going to show it as test cal. Why? So when I do a t-test, is called t-cal. When I do a f-test, is called f-cal. When I do a chi-square, it is called chi-square cal. Okay, that's generally I've given like this. So once it is done, then I'm going to give an example. For a t-test, it will be t-cal. I'll call it as t-cal. That's what you have to remember. Then the value is compared with the t-tab. I told you this is a tabulated value. So that's what we are going to write. Construct the acceptance regions. I told you already, we have to construct how to accept and reject. So now we are using the hypothesis testing here. So we are not using a p-value to accept and reject the region. We are using the threshold value here. Okay, now the threshold critical value is obtained from the respective table. So what is the respective table? That value is called the tab critical alpha. So now t-test means t-tab, or I'll call it as t-critical, and t-alpha. Okay, it is not necessary to draw the diagram here. We are going to have a other method of doing it here. Okay, so now you have to remember this. So now for a t-test, it will be like this. Okay, now choose the alpha level. Okay, now 0.05 we have to, why we have to choose here? My t table will be like this. Degrees of freedom will be like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here 0.01, 0.05, etc., etc. It will be there. So under this column, under this degrees of freedom, I'm going to take this value. This value is nothing but t alpha or t critical. So your critical values will be calculated from the table always. Okay, so now if the test critical value falls inside the region, you will reject the null hypothesis. Okay, so in the diagram, if falls inside the region, then you reject the null hypothesis. Otherwise, we will accept it, right? If the test is one-tailed, so we have to understand. And if it is two-tailed, it is split into two parts. We have done it already in the previous screen, right? Now, example I'm going to have. Now, let us suppose that our t calculated value, okay? So here, we are going to calculate something. For a t-test, it would be t-tab, t-critical, or t-alpha. Okay, now, alpha level 0.05 here, okay? Now, after finishing this, we are going to draw the conclusions here. Okay, now how to draw the conclusion? See, t-cal and t-critical, or this t-critical, I'll call it as t-tab. Both of them, I am going to compare it. Okay, now this calculated value greater than the tabulated value, then we reject it. When the calculated value less than tabulated value, then we will fail to reject. That is called the acceptation. Okay, now we'll accept it. So whatever we have studied is called the critical value approach. So we are finding the test calculation here. Okay, then we are calculating the critical value from the tabular column. Then we are comparing the values. After comparing the values, if the test calculated value greater than test critical, then we reject the null hypothesis. with 1 minus alpha level of significance. If test calc test critical, then we fail to reject. So this is what is the a critical value approach. Okay, so this is called the critical value approach. Okay, so approach to reject the null hypothesis. Now there is one more method called p-value. Okay, now how to get this p-value, I'm going to tell you. So this is called p-value approach. So where from I am getting this p-value? This p-value is given by the softwares. Okay, whenever we use a software called SPSS or so many softwares are there, Excel, so many softwares are there, or R softwares. Okay, so now GraphPad, Prism. See, all the softwares will give you a p-value. So whenever a p-value is given, then how to reject and accept the null hypothesis, we are going to see in this. Right. So now the modern software like SPSS, okay, I have taken only one example here. So they will give a p-value when calculating the rejection region. So what I will do here, okay, so it is the probability of getting the test calculated even greater than what you are observing. So we will be getting a even greater value for the calculation. Okay, so now less than that. So I told you already, so if t calculation is equal to t tabulated value, then my alpha value will be equal. Okay, no, the both are will be equal to alpha value. So alpha is equal to 0.05, then calculated value may be less than this or it may be greater than this. So by calculating the critical value, I am going to find out the conclusion. Now, what if there is a p-value given? So what I'm going to do is, if the p-value would exactly equal to alpha, if test cal, see for example, t calculated value is equal to t critical value from the tabular column will be equal when it is the value which is equal to alpha here. Okay, now if p value less than alpha, we are rejecting h naught. If p value greater than alpha, then fail to reject the h naught. See, that is what, suppose if it is alpha is equal to 0.5 and p value less than 0.05, we are going to reject it. If it is greater than 0.05, now we are going to accept it. Sometimes alpha will be 0.01 also. Then I have to consider p less than 0.01. Okay, these are all the conditions you have to remember. So this is how we will use p-value approach to accept and reject the h naught. Okay, so I hope you like this video. If you like this video, kindly subscribe to my channel. We will meet you in a separate video for p-value. We'll be doing it. Okay, so continuously visit our channel to study. Share it to your friends. Thank you very much. Have a good day.